Welcome to the Double Dribble podcast with Dubin and Dakhil. That's Jared Dubin, author of Last Night in Basketball. Make sure you're subscribing to his newsletter. It's absolutely phenomenal. And you know what? He's a good person, and we want to support good people. Also, big Knicks fan. He's riding a pretty good high right now. I'm Mo Dakhil, former NBA video coordinator. I'm a contributor on NBA TV. I do videos on Offside. Make sure you sign up for Offside. We have great stuff. We have a great stat package coming out on the app, on the desktop. Excuse me. It's not ready on the app yet, but there's going to be a lot of fun stuff there. Plus, you can always watch my videos. That's where I'm going to post most of my videos there. And then starting in the finals, we're going to have an X Live show. Me, Zach Harper, Alexis Morgan. We're going to be doing a pregame show. Make sure you check all that stuff out. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe to the RealGM Network. This is where we're on. Obviously, you're listening to us, so if you figured that out. But I know some of you haven't given us the 5 stars, and I know some of you haven't written the reviews. So go do that. Help us out quite a bit, and let them know the Double Dribble sent you. Jared, how are you doing, my man? You still riding the high of the Knicks going to the finals?
I'm doing great, man. The vibes are immaculate right now out here.
What? Yeah, the city has to just be beaming.
It's on fire. On fire. It's incredible.
There were a million videos. I didn't obviously watch all of them, but there was one video I found hilarious. There was a sanitized worker just sweeping the floor, and then a whole crowd circles around them and just starts chanting, "Sweep, sweep, sweep, sweep," and then it was pretty funny. I thought that was hilarious. With that, I thought that was great. We're going to touch on the Knicks, but first we got to talk about who the Knicks might play. We had a game 5 last night between the San Antonio Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder in Oklahoma. And damn, man, I'll be honest, leaving game 4, I kind of was like, man, I think the Spurs might have figured this out. I think they might have some answers. No, they did not. Not in this game. And it was pretty impressive.
It was really impressive from the Thunder. I don't know that I thought that the Spurs had necessarily figured them out, but I thought that without J-Dub and AJ Mitchell, that things were just going to be too difficult for them offensively to figure things out. And then at the start of the game, when SGA had maybe the worst 6 minutes of his career, where he goes like 0 for 4 with 3 or 4 turnovers in the first 6 minutes of the game, I was like, "Ooh, boy, this is really not looking good for them." And for them to recover from that, thanks to a hot start from Chet Holmgren, and then guys hitting threes in the back half of the first quarter, sort of get them back into it. I said at the end of the first quarter, at that point, I was like, the Thunder had a 24% turnover rate. SGA has been horrible. Julian Champagnie poured in 13 points, and they're still leading at the end of the first quarter. I was like, this is a really good omen for them going forward, and that was exactly the case.
Yeah, I mean, there was a level of like calmness and comfortableness in that first quarter, even with everything going wrong. I feel like the Spurs came out with like the worst kind of approach or like mentality with it, frantic more than like anything. It wasn't like they laid out or there was a frenetic energy from them that I didn't like in the first quarter. And I thought Wemby played one of the weirdest first quarters I had ever seen him play. And it was on the defensive end that I really caught it, where it was like there were 3 or 4 times where I was like, he's going to contest that shot, and he doesn't. And I'm like, that's weird. And that's a little bit odd to me with that. And then again, him only going 4 or 16 from the field, only had a couple of I think he had 3 shots in the paint.
I think
made baskets. It was something, and most, 2 were lobs, 1 was an offensive rebound. It's pretty kind of like, what are we? It was pretty wow, with the way he kind of put that game together, and credit the Thunder all the way for how they approached it. Jared McCain came out, starting right, and was picked up for what he did in game 4 and really kind of showed us game 3, Jared McCain. Like you said, Chet starting out hot was huge for them. I thought for a moment when Champagnie was hitting shots, so I was like, uh-oh. Like, this is the guy the Spurs have been waiting for. And it didn't phase them at all. And it's just kind of like, when you watch the way the Spurs played this game, I was kind of appalled a little bit with. I just wasn't happy with whether it's game plan and just like the dumb mistakes they were making. And I didn't feel it was like effort. They were trying. It was almost like trying too hard.
Yeah, I thought they were, you mentioned they were frenetic, but some of the guys were also kind of lethargic. Like Wemby looked lethargic throughout the entire game. It didn't seem like he was able to move in the same way that he usually does. And that led to some of the kind of stuff that you were talking about, where he was just not getting into position to help on drives or help on shots at the rim multiple times. It was just a weird game from him in general on both ends, where you didn't feel his force on either side of the ball. I have an incredible stat for you. Are you ready for this?
Let's go.
The Thunder ran 26 pick and rolls at Wemby, with Wemby defending the screener. That's tied for most that he's faced in the playoffs. They averaged 1.37 points per possession on those plays, which is an outrageous number. And
yeah, that's insane.
I couldn't believe it. They were running like a lot of them were, I thought, side pick and rolls to sort of remove him as the low man help and to clear out some of that side. So that you had to draw the help from the middle of the floor. And that helped them, I think, create threes on the opposite side of the court. And the rotations behind the help were just not as efficient and not as good in this game as they had been in the previous games. Like, they were still trying to show help to Shea later in the down than they were in the first couple games of the series. But behind that, they really just did not do as good a job of getting out to the shooters as they did in game 4.
And there were times where I felt like they were showing help when they didn't really need to. Like it was early in the first quarter, like Shea has Fox on him and he gets down to the baseline and Wemby's coming over and he doesn't affect Shea at all. Right. He leaves Hartenstein wide open at the front of the rim. And obviously the weak side doesn't pull in and he drills it. Shea finds Hartenstein and he gets an easy bucket. And Wemby's just in no man's land in that instance. Like there were instances where I would watch it going like, that, like you didn't really need to do stuff like that. And then they kind of like we said early on, McCain probably can't play in the series. Hartenstein can't play in the series. I'll tell you who cannot play in this series right now. And I think he'll be fine in the long term. Carter Bryant should be done playing playoff minutes at this point, meaningful playoff minutes at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like he hit a three, he had a dunk, but then he has a possession where he helps off SGA on a Caruso drive where it looks like it's pretty handled, gives up a three to SGA. To the Thunder's credit, they pick off Wallace strips Castle clean when he's bringing the ball up the court, like just clean. It was Castle or Harper. I don't remember which one. Excuse me. He had steals on both.
Yeah.
And then it goes to SGA, and he's at the half-court line, and Carter swipes down to try to steal the ball, fouls him. He goes to the line, because they're in bonus. And it's like those two plays right there, it's just like you can't play him. The moment's too big for him right now. Like he doesn't understand what he needs to be doing. This was a big thing where I was watching it going like, this is probably a moment too big for him. But the other side of it too, when you look at it from the Thunder, and this is important here, like 17 free throws for Shea.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like a lot of them were fouls.
I would say that there was one of them that was absolutely not a foul after the sequence on the opposite end of the floor where the ball went off of Chet's foot and they didn't get the challenge off in time, which, by the way, would have been a horrible use of your final challenge of the game. The Spurs should be happy that they didn't get that off. Second of all, they didn't ignore the challenge. Mitch Johnson has to call timeout first. And he didn't signal. Nate Duncan pointed that out. He has to call timeout first, and he didn't call timeout. He just did the challenge symbol. You have to call timeout. So they were right to deny him the challenge. So that one I thought right after that was not a foul. Every other foul was completely legit. Also, 8 of those free throws came in the second quarter on non-shooting fouls in the bonus. You can't do that. And one of them was 70 feet from the rim, Stephon Castle.
I will say this, and I'm going to say this in defense of that stuff. I've been touched and I've fallen as if I've been bowled over is a problem with the Thunder. Like, this is an absolute, we can run through it here real quickly, just a couple of them. Jared McCain gets away with the forearm on Dylan Harper's chin.
Mm-hmm.
And then Harper's chasing behind him. He feels Harper behind him, falls. That's a flop to me. Gets the foul call. That's how you get in the bonus early. Right?
It's a foul, but it's also like exaggerated contact.
It's one that wouldn't be called in the regular season if he doesn't fall. Like, it's not a foul to be called, like, period, right? And especially with when he gets away with the forearm to the face.
Right.
The Jalen Williams runs right into Keldon Johnson and falls backwards.
That one was funny.
That's an offensive foul. That should be technical flop with that stuff. And even the one with Castle on Shea, first pressing up there, like, that's part of the game plan. But also some of it was like Shea just falls and he gets the whistle. Like,
the thing is, you can pressure him without coming anywhere close to fouling 70 feet from the rim. Like, putting yourself in that position to begin with is just really stupid.
It is dumb, but I also think some of it is, again, very much exaggerated contact. And that's how they got in the bonus early. We should say, look, the Thunder shot 38 free throws. The Spurs shot 32 free throws. I don't think officiating's why the Spurs lost this game. I think the Spurs are why they lost this game. I don't want anybody to think anything of that beyond that. But, like, I think there's an element of, like, I can understand their frustration, but at the same time, you're doing stupid shit. And the thing is, they weren't the aggressors in this game.
No.
They weren't as aggressive as they have been. And I think that's the thing that stood out the most and was probably the biggest problem for me. Like, it's so funny. The Spurs had 26 fast break points. I didn't even feel it.
No.
I felt like they were slow.
You know what I felt much more was them giving up 26 second chance points, which was the most the Thunder have had in a playoff game in the Dagnall era.
I mean, like, it's pretty impressive. I think for me, going into the next game, and we should also mention Caruso was awesome. The bench was awesome, right? Caruso comes in off the bench. Jalen Williams, because Kenrich Williams,
huge,
like, big, and he had a couple of big shots in Game 4 that have carried over to Game 5. Like, that's been big for them. There's a lot of stuff that you're seeing with them that you like. What do you want to see from the Spurs going into Game 6? This is the first time this whole group's been up against elimination now. It's a fun little moment. This is a fun, let's see what you're made of kind of situation back at home. What do you want to see from them besides the obvious, right? Wemby play better, don't foul. You know, like, what's something tangible that you think, like, man, they need to kind of lock in on this?
Just much more forcefulness toward the paint on offense. I think there was not enough of them getting downhill, getting Wemby going inside the paint. Like, honestly, it's the same things from what we saw in Game 2 and 3. Like, they need to get their offense located lower on the floor so that they can challenge the Thunder's interior defense. That and getting the rotations back to being on point after you show the help to Shea when he gets lower on the floor on the opposite side of the ball, because I just did not think that they were clean enough after the pass came.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Like, they weren't sharp enough on that. I don't feel like they were physical, but not felt, if that made any sense also, right? Like, It wasn't like a way that was really impactful. It was a way that led to fouls and stuff. And sometimes I felt like, and I think I said this in Game 3 when we talked about that, I almost felt like they were more focused on being physical than playing. And I think that kind of sort of hurt them with the way they kind of went about it. I want to see them play a little bit faster. I want to see them, and it's not transition.
And I think that will help with what I'm talking about, getting toward the paint.
Right. But I think it's like, even in the half court, get the ball up earlier. Like, a lot of their offense is becoming too stagnant. Right. A lot of it is, let's try to get the ball to Wemby at the elbow. There's no movements after that. There's no exchanges. There's no cutting. There's no baseline cut. Like, you got to probe the defense here a little bit. Make them have to guess here a little bit. There were things that I watched and I was kind of frustrated with. Just sort of a great example is, like, in transition, it turns into early offense possession, but Wemby ends up having Wallace on him. and Keldon Johnson has the ball in the corner. He has Caruso. Wemby heads that way towards the corner, and it's a scram switch. So now it's Caruso on Wemby and Wallace on Johnson, which, by the way, not great, but Wemby should still win that matchup, and it's in the lower third. Like, he should be able to start bullying Caruso into the paint. Instead, Johnson goes and drives. Now he picks up draws a foul, but like, that's not the stuff you want to see. Like, I want to see them a little bit more focused when they have those opportunities to go to work with it. It was just like a really weird performance from the Spurs in a way where it's like, that might cost them the finals. Like, that's a legitimate, like, hey, we had a chance to go to the finals and we blew it, right? Wemby with only 6 rebounds. That can't happen, man. Like, you're 9 feet tall. And a lot of it was because you weren't near the paint. You know, it's in a game where the Spurs had 15 offensive rebounds, Wemby has 1 because he wasn't that much in the paint. Like, I think that's the thing that's really kind of concerning. I wish we had the tracking data. I'd love to do paint time, how much time he spent in the paint offensively.
I would say also, like, they got 15 offensive rebounds, but they gave up 14 offensive rebounds. Hartenstein got 6 by himself. Like, straight up, he outplayed Wemby in that game.
There's no question. And I want to say this before we move on. Do you have any other thoughts about the games you want to hit on?
I want to know, like, how much of the lack of, like, speed and zip do you think is attributable to just 2 of their 3 guards are playing hurt? Like, Fox clearly is not himself out there. I thought that he couldn't get around as quickly as he usually does. It doesn't have the burst downhill that he usually does. And Dylan Harper, since the injury, hasn't looked the same. I
feel like they had it in game 4, and it was the same situation. Like, I feel like they had that zip and, kind of like, that was one of the things I had written. Like, they need to play faster, get out in transition. And they did that, like, in game 4. I mean, they did it tonight, getting in transition, and 26 points. 26 transition points is a big number, by the way. But like, it was funny because it just didn't feel impactful. And I have to dive into the numbers and be like, how much of that was kind of like, this game is sort of over. This game was lost to me in the second quarter. Right. And there was a moment in the second quarter, it was 45-44. And the Spurs had their chances to really kind of build a lead, basically make this more of a game. And the Thunder did a good job defensively, forcing turnovers or making things difficult. Castle trying to squeeze in a pass to Harper on the baseline. It gets deflected. Harper still gets it, misses the shot, but it's a run the other way. And it's a Lou Dort 3 in transition that he knocks down. And it became like a 6-point game. It wasn't exactly when it was 44-45, but like, there were 2 or 3 stretches where the Spurs could have made this a game and kind of taken over, and they blew their opportunities.
That second quarter stretch where it got to 45-44, right after that is when Shea started drawing the non-shooting fouls and the bonus, first of all. Second of all, the Spurs were -8 in the minutes with Wemby on the court and Shea off the court. That absolutely cannot happen. And credit the Thunder, by the way. We're running great offense. One guy comes off a ball screen on the side, gets it, draws nail help, kicks it to another guy. They run right immediately into another screen and get into an action. And it was either a kick out 3 or a layup. Like, it was an incredible touch pass from Jalen Williams to Cason Wallace in the corner after the Caruso Chet pick and roll, right into a dribble handoff with Jay Will and McCain. Hits him on the roll, and then a one-handed touch pass to Wallace in the corner. That was an incredible sequence.
Credit to, like, that was phenomenal. And I want to say this, the Thunder won this game. It wasn't, I mean, like, we're talking, it's easy in these losses to always talk about what the other team didn't do. But like, the Thunder really won this game. Like, that was an impressive performance from them in the way they attacked. And, like, everything that they went through there, like, kudos to them. I want to end this on one note.
I got one more too. So
go first, because mine's going to take us out. So go.
The Spurs got the Champagny game we've been waiting on. He hits 4 threes, that's 22 points, and the Thunder won it anyway.
Yeah, I think there's still, I think just seeing him make 4 threes is a normal game. That's not a Champagne game to me. The Champagne, him with the first quarter points, 13, I get you. But like the Champagne game is when he hits 6 to 7 threes, when he's 7 of 8 from 3. That's the Champagne game to me.
Yeah.
When
he
he
did
has
have a
one of
couple of
those nights.
drives where he went right through Chet's chest. Like Chet had the very impactful first few minutes, but after that, it was more of the same, I thought.
Yeah, I didn't think Chet was that amazing beyond like keeping them afloat really in the first quarter with the 3 for 3, was hitting some threes and then just going. All right, I have to be critical here. Victor Wembanyama cannot skip the media after the game.
Yeah.
That is a massive mistake on his part. For all the stuff he does, and we love Wemby. We absolutely do. You can't do that. You got to face the music here. And he's young and everything is good. Everything is right. Like he's like, I'm confident in him competitively and everything like that. This is part of the job, right? Like this is the part of the job that you have to do. Great win, bad loss. You're going to have all of those experiences in your course of your NBA career. And hopefully it's a super long career because we love watching the dude.
Mm.
You can't skip out on these media things. I was critical anytime a player does it, especially when it's a star player that constantly does talk. And the way it was like talked about, or I saw a post about it where they were like, everybody in the media was waiting for Wemby and he just made a left turn to go to the team bus. Like, that's not cool, dude. Like, you have to face the music. You had a shit game. You had a shit night. You got to talk about it. And you know what? That's just how it goes. That's the job.
Especially when you're the face of the team and potentially the face of the NBA over the next however many years.
I mean, right. Like, you got to kind of do it. You can't avoid that stuff. All right. We're going to take a quick break. And then, real quick. Is this going to be over on Thursday?
I hope not. I want to see game 7.
I don't think so. I think Wemby's going to come back massively pissed. And like, honestly, I kind of feel like he's just sitting and stewing right now and just a pure rate, like ready to go. And like when he plays angry, I do feel like he plays better than most people when they play angry. Most people don't play well angry. I think the Spurs win. I think we get game 7 on Saturday night. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the New York Knicks. And we're back, folks. Jared, I want you to take this away. You were like, yo, we're talking Knicks. Let's go. How do you feel, buddy?
It's like a fever dream, man. I can't believe it. It's been 27 years since this happened. I talked about it last time. I was 12 years old the last time the Knicks went to the finals. I still can't believe that it's happening. I can't believe that it's happening, in particular the way that it's happening when they're on this 11-game winning streak seemingly out of nowhere, and they're just absolutely demolishing teams every night. Like, they won this game by 37 points, and their point differential in closeout games went down because they had won the previous 2 games by what was it, 51 and 39, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, this was not acceptable. No. This is not acceptable from the Knicks. What are you doing?
Sitting there watching with my 2 friends and saying, like, getting mad over the course of the game when the lead got down below 40 points. I was like, come on, this is ridiculous. Walking around the city right now.
Championship and do that? Not okay.
Walking around the city is insane right now. Literally everyone you see has Knicks gear on everywhere. It's like I'm in a daze, but at the same time, I can't describe it. Honestly, I'm at a loss for words, just the way this team is playing right now.
So I think the important thing with the way I view it is just like the dominance the Knicks have played with. I think it's like they've only played like 10 games in May. Like, it's something like, obviously 2 sweeps,
Well, they've played 11 games since April 23rd because that was the last time they lost.
So, I mean, like, just think about that stretch over a month. Like, yeah, you're feeling great. Like, this is the dominance that you've been at this level. Like, it's super impressive. And you're going to love – obviously, they're rooting for, hey, we absolutely want, this series to go 7. We want these guys to be – granted, if it goes 7, there's still a few days off before the game 1. But, like, that's what they want, right? Like, that's the attitude. That's the – like, now they're Spurs fans. All Knicks fans, Spurs fans. Right now, you guys want them to win Game 6 to force Game 7. But the dominance in which the Knicks have played and have shown, and I don't even care about the competition, has been brilliant. And I want to start with, because we're going to talk about some of their guys, I want to start with Mike Brown. We killed him after, those 3 games, going down 2-1 against Atlanta. Timeouts and the game stuff, all that stuff. He's been absolutely brilliant in how he's played this, pushing all the right buttons, shifting the offense to being more cat focused until they need it to be Brunson focused, to be more ball movement oriented, more democratic, get everybody moving and touches and things like that. He's gotten so much going from that. And then on top of that, not having any sort of drop off defensively. It's truly just an impressive sort of run right now that you're seeing. And it's like, we argued it. I was like, you shouldn't have fired Tibbs. Well, shit. They fired Tibbs and they're right. They're in the finals now. Like, that's like, and Tibbs would have never changed his offense. And I think that's an important thing. And then the other thing is he prioritized the bench. And put the bench and played guys in the bench through the course of the season where now he trusts his bench.
Yeah. And put the bench in position to succeed in lineups that made sense for those guys. Like, they play much more mixed starters and bench lineups than under Tibbs, where it was always like all bench or 1 starter, 4 bench guys. They play a lot of 2 and 3 starter lineups, much more than they did under Tibbs, and that puts guys in position to succeed in lineups that make more sense. And I think there not just hasn't been a defensive drop off in the playoffs. Their defense has gotten even better in the playoffs, and so much of that is owed to, obviously, we could talk about the guys in the court now. OG Anunoby playing at a absolutely preposterous level defensively. Mikal Bridges playing at a preposterous level defensively. Josh Hart playing at a preposterous. Landry Shamet like a Donovan Mitchell stopper throughout this series. Landry Shamet has a billboard near the Garden that says this train is not stopping. Like, Landry Shamet, who went 12 for 13 from 3 in the conference finals, has a billboard near Madison Square Garden. Like, that's the stage that we're at with this team right now.
The Mom Donnie said he wanted to change the names of all the laundry mats to Landry mats.
I did not see that. That's very funny.
I saw that and got a chuckle with that.
My friends are calling it Landsanity.
Landsanity, yeah. It's not quite the same. I don't want to diminish Linsanity's run with all of that. By the way, why isn't Jeremy Lin at any of these games? There was a rumor that he's going to come to a game at some point. We'll see what happens. Wasn't like Ron Baker at one of the games?
I mean, probably. The only guy that hasn't been trotted out for these games is Charles Oakley, because he's apparently still persona non grata.
He's not going to be brought out in all these games. Unfortunately, we do have somebody else planning to go to one of these games, and that sucks. But I mean, just the job Mike Brown has done has been phenomenal. And on a day where they announced Coach of the Year and it's going to Joe Mazzulla and all that and deserved, this has been the coach of the playoffs for me, and
Absolutely.
I don't think it's really a contest with the work he's done. Who do you want to talk about next? Because I just picked the one guy.
I mean, I think we have to talk about the first. Well, let's actually start with Leon Rose, because this is a guy who was an agent for a very long time and gets hired in a move that was seen as like interesting but unusual, but who the hell knows if this is going to work. And he just methodically put this roster together over the course of several years in moves that a lot of them were not loved at the time they happened. You know, the Jalen Brunson signing, a lot of people didn't like because they thought he was overpaid. The Josh Hart trade, oh, you gave up a first-round pick for Josh Hart? Like, not a lot of people love that. The only one that was like universally like, okay, they did a really good job there was the OG Anunoby trade. And even there, they gave up two guys that people were very attached to in Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett, but they kept the first-round pick out of that trade. So that was a really good job. And they got a player who obviously was – I was and still am obviously a big Quickly guy. I remember I wanted – no matter what, I was like, I'm going to get so mad when they trade Quickly. And then they traded him. At the time, I said they traded him for the one guy I can't even get mad about because this is the absolutely perfect fit.
Right. So I think for me, the big swing, because was the Cat trade.
Well, obviously, the bigger swing was the Bridges trade where they gave up all of the assets. And that was hated at the time and was hated as recently as 4.5 weeks ago.
Yeah. But there's a difference, though. It was the cost of the Bridges trade,
right?
That made that a swing. This was bringing in Cat and trading Dante DiVincenzo, who was beloved amongst Knicks fans. Randall, who was was looking like, hey, he's putting this together. He was coming off an All-NBA run. I don't think anybody believed he could be the guy or even a second piece on that. But it was a risk because it was like, all right, we're going to trade for Cat. Who how much
contract? The contract was insane, and it dramatically changed the conception of the team.
Everything he did on the court when in Minnesota, stupid fouls, the dumb turnovers trying to make a highlight pass, everything would look so different. And it's like over time, he's kind of built this team. Leon Rose has built this team. Some of it would swing. Some of it is like, yeah, you know what? The Bridges trade probably was an overpay. Won't look like it if it doesn't look like it now, but in the long, we might just say, all right, 5 picks might be a bit much. But nonetheless, you're in the finals now. And a swap. You're in the finals now. So, okay, everything's gravy, right? What does Windsor say? You don't have to apologize. When you win a championship, they're 4 games away from never having to apologize. But I think the thing is, and one, just to be clear, you can't replicate models from one team to the next team to the next team. You can't just say, okay, Memphis can do it this way. What I love about this, though, is this is a team that built themselves slowly into a championship roster, right? And added pieces here, were smart with their trades. The OG trade is still one of the best trades they made. Toronto, that wasn't a good trade. I know you're a Quickly guy. I'm not.
No, it was clearly it was a great trade for the Knicks. Not even getting a first-round pick in that trade from Toronto was really bad.
It's absurd that Toronto doesn't get one. And I think, you just got to give a lot of credit to Rose, who has done a good job, Worldwide West with him, and everybody that he has on the staff, which is the funniest thing because Leon Rose doesn't talk to the media.
He has not talked to the media once. But I'm glad you brought up West because it's not just Rose. It's Worldwide West. It's Brock Aller, it's Walt Perrin, it's Gerson Rosas. All of these guys have contributed in their own ways.
I will say this got me. I'm getting old, so I know I'm getting old and washed because things get me. But there was a video a fan had shot of Leon Rose
in
tears, grabbing his son and in tears, and almost looked like he was about to break down and sob. I feel quite happy for him. In the respect and the job he's done has just been amazing. And that's a great thing. All right. Who do you want to talk about next? Because we are going to kind of try to cut this short here.
I mean, it's got to be Jalen Brunson, right? Where does this now rank among the best free agent signings in the history of the league? It's Shaq and LeBron. And this might be the next best free agent signing, considering how much it changed the trajectory of the franchise and the entire tenor of the organization. I can't believe how much this guy was a backup point guard for 3 years and then comes in on a deal that it was not universally panned, but it was panned by a lot of people as an overpay. I was on the once you get past the sticker shock, it's really not that bad. It does, like the numbers are big because the salary cap is big. That was where I was at. But even then, I was like, you're probably just going to be a play-in team, and you still need to do a lot more. I was like, it seems like they're trying to pull an inside straight, like the Rockets did when they got Harden, and then it turned out to be they pulled the inside straight because Brunson was just that good, and then they were able to fill in the pieces around him, and it's just what he has done as an individual player to level up every single year since he got to New York and to just be like, he is the king of New York right now. That's what it is. And he's moving way up on the list of all-time Knick greats. And if he gets this done in the finals, he's going to have an argument to be at or near the top of that list.
Yeah, I don't think there's really much to say there. And, he can put the rest, you can't win a championship with, small guards. Shout out Becky Hammond with the with that quote.
Yeah, I think he's a 1A, guys.
Yeah, I don't think we have to worry about that. It also just, again, comes in different sizes. Like, teams are put together in different. I always say it depends what you put around the guy. And in this case, let's put a crap ton of great defenders. Let's put a crap ton of guys, shooting and defense around him. And that also includes Karl Anthony Towns, who I'm just going to shout him out. And I think we got to wrap the segment up here, Jared. But this has been the best defensive performance I've seen from Towns. And I think ever. Like, the way he's kind of put together defensively. Forget all what he does offensively. We know that. That's who he is. But what he's doing on the other end of the floor, like, there were times last year when they got eliminated, we were like, you can't win with both of your top guys being bad defensively. And it's not even been average. He's not even been good. He's been great defensively. And I think that's the thing that I really kind of has made me just go like, God damn, this Knicks team really can win a championship.
He absolutely has been great defensively. And I think Brunson on that end too, like, he is not getting hunted in the way that the Knicks hunted James Harden and Donovan Mitchell throughout the conference finals. He's doing a really good job of making himself average as a defender by throwing his body in front of guys on charges, by hedging out on pick and rolls and getting back to his man. Like, it's in a similar way to how Steph Curry defended during the Warriors run. That's what Brunson is doing right now, where he's overcoming his limitations to become a guy who can't be exploited as much as he has been in previous years.
Yeah. I'm just blown away with the stuff. And then, look, we could talk we could do a whole podcast on all these guys. Josh Hart, OG.
We'll talk about them more. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby and Deuce McBride and Mitchell Robinson
and Landry Shamet and everybody that we can talk about with the way this goes. So everything with that. So we're going to take a quick break, because then we're going to go head to Ohio for a little bit and talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers. And we are back, folks. And we're going to kind of keep this short because the Cavs got swept in embarrassing fashion. I want to ask you this question straight away before we dive into the deep stuff about the Cavs. Getting to the conference finals and getting swept the way they did, is this season still a success?
I don't know if it's a success. Like, it's an accomplishment. Like, I don't think we should downplay getting to the conference finals as an accomplishment, but I think we also came into the season with the idea that the Cavs should go to the conference finals. Most people thought that the Knicks and the Cavs were the two best teams in the East, and it was predicted before the season that they would probably meet in the conference finals. I think I personally had Orlando and not Cleveland in the conference finals, if I'm remembering correctly. But
thanks, Orlando.
I think the Cavs came into the season as the favorite in the East, and they were just totally non-competitive against the Knicks in this series. So I don't know if you can call it a success necessarily.
Yeah, I wouldn't classify it as a success when you needed 7 games to go to beat Toronto. You needed 7 games to beat Detroit. And I know Detroit was the 1 seed, but you could only win at home for a stretch, right? Like, there was a whole run of it. I don't necessarily look at it as a success for them. I think had they played a team like Atlanta or Boston in the first round, like I think they get knocked out in the first round. Like I don't.
They almost lost to Toronto, who was without Quickly for the entire series and without Ingram for the second half of the series.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the thing that's kind of like, all right, so there are definitely problems. What I love most about this is like literally the day after, besides watching all the celebrations in New York, every other post I saw was the Cavs are going to go after this guy. The Cavs had, so in the range of things I saw, the Cavs are getting Giannis Antetokounmpo and LeBron James. They're flirting with Jason Kidd. That means they would be firing Kenny Atkinson.
Which they're not.
Which they're not, but like I'm just saying, like in the range of like every. And by the way, all of this was kind of believable in one way, shape, or form. But it was like, it feels like wholesale changes were coming. Now they've already kind of announced Kenny Atkinson's coming back. They're not firing Kenny, and that's good because analytically the series is still 2-2. Shouldn't fire your coach. But I think you're in that vein though of like what change. Is Harden going to come? I mean, Harden's going to opt out, and it sounds like he's going to re-sign. One report said he's going to take less so to help them be able to add more talent. I already saw a report that LeBron will not give a hometown discount. By the way, I don't know how much of this shit's true, right? Like this is where it gets like so much stuff is floated out in this moment. They're going to trade Evan Mobley for Giannis and, kind of try to figure that out. They're going to do a sign and trade to get LeBron, and the Lakers will get Jared Allen. Like there's all this stuff floating around. I don't know if I've seen it like that. Like the sharks circling the water the way I did after this series.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, not only are they bringing Kenny Atkinson back, they're also bringing Kobe Altman and the front office back, who obviously built the roster that was not competitive enough to put forth did not put forth enough of an effort to be competitive in the series against the Knicks, and is clearly a flawed roster where the two guards aren't good enough defensively to coexist together, but are probably still going to be together over the next at least 2 years. Like Mitchell is extension eligible this offseason. We'll see if they give him that extension or not, or whether he wants to sign that extension or not. I could see him declining it and being like, you know what, I'm going to go into unrestricted free agency next offseason and see what options are out there for me. If he says I'm not going to take the extension, what do the Cavs then do at that point? Like, I don't really know. Harden taking less could help because they could get under the second apron and then aggregate salaries and trades. But still, if you want to sign and trade for LeBron, you got to get under the first apron because taking back a player in a sign and trade hard caps you at the first apron. So you got to cut a whole lot of salary to be able to do that. So the options are more limited than it seemed than most people are putting out there. Like for me to get LeBron, he probably has to come back on a significant hometown discount as a free agent, not in a sign and trade.
Which he's not going to do. Like, I don't think that's happening. So we can kind of just cross. Again, a lot of bullshit being thrown out there. But it was just funny to watch the waters kind of get chummed a little bit with all of this.
There was Jason Kidd stuff. I saw a Tibbs thing floating around.
Oh, Tibbs would have been funny. Tibbs on that team would be hilarious. Tibbs having to coach James Harden might be my wish. Please. Let's see that. Like, I just want to see that. Just watching him defensively, I just want to see Tibbs have to deal with that. That's my goal now and my wish. Please make that happen. That's all I want. Okay?
Well, we know it's not happening. So
I know it's not happening. But I think the thing is, like, they're going to have to make a lot of changes and a lot of decisions.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to bet between Harden, Mitchell, Mobley, and Allen, who's not there next season? You don't need to guess where they are, but who's not there next season?
My bet is Allen, just because it seems like the path of least resistance to me, and it allows you to say that you made significant changes without blowing up the entire thing. But I also don't know if that's significant enough to me, given the construction of the team right now.
Yeah, I hear you. I feel like it's Mobley.
Could be.
I feel, and to me, that's kind of a mistake because I think Mobley was one of the few. Mobley and Allen were the few guys that showed up.
Mitchell showed up for game 4, at least offensively, but the rest of the, I mean, he had 9 assists and 14 turnovers in the series, and he was getting absolutely hunted defensively.
Yeah, I'm not saying even he showed up offense. He got his points, but like, and his numbers, but like, I wouldn't even have put it there. But like, those two guys to me are who showed up. And it's going to be funny because one of those guys I think is gone.
Yeah.
And I won't be surprised if both are gone. Like the way it kind of just play it out in your mind, right? Like if you trade for Giannis, he can't play with Jared Allen. There's no space. There's just not enough space. If you and to be honest, Mobley's not a spacer. Obviously, you're probably trading Mobley in that instance, but like
you're putting Mobley in the trade, so it's not like they would be playing together anyway.
Yeah, so it's like, but I just don't feel like you have like that doesn't make a ton of sense. So then Allen's got to go at that point, and then you got to figure out, build around it. You have a gaping hole in your 3 spot, and it's not like
I'm so tired of talking about the 5th guy in these lineups for the Cavs. They've rotated through so many guys. None of them work on both ends of the floor. Like, I need them to make a move just so we don't have to talk about that issue anymore.
Yeah, I honestly, like, I think that's like but they just I was with the Clippers. We had that problem. Like finding the 5th guy can be the hardest spot when you're locked into the contracts you're in right now.
You know what?
I think
that's a much better comparison than the one I made, which was like the KD and Russ Thunder, where they were searching for a 2 guard who could play on both sides of the ball for years. The Clippers one is a much better comparison.
Well, they remind me of them. Like this team has gone stale, like really at the end of the day. And I think that's where I'm kind of going to be fascinated because I think there's going to be a lot of changes. And it's crazy. I'm sorry. Like I know everybody was talking about they won the trade when they traded Garland for Harden. And I understand the injury stuff. You got 10 years older and now have to give this dude a massive extension.
Right.
Like,
and where are you going if 37-year-old James Harden is a significant part of your playoff core? He can't beat guys off the dribble anymore. He gets hunted defensively. Like he's going to be good during the regular season. He's going to guarantee you a good offense during the regular season. But when you get into these playoff matchups and everything is game planned to death, I just don't know where you're going if he's a significant part of the action for you.
No, I know where you're going. You're going home at some point and not to the finals. Like you're not, like we saw what he did. Game 3 defensively was one of the worst things I've ever seen. Honestly, the series should have counted as 2 games. The Knicks shouldn't even have had to have played game 4. Like that should have been the end of it with all that. Anything else you want to touch on before we go?
I think I had one more thing if I'm remembering correctly. Just Mobley also isn't as good as we thought he'd be by now. And that's, I think, the biggest problem with the team. Like we thought that he was going to be like I wrote it in my Have a Good Summer for the Cavs that I put out on Last Night in Basketball. He's like a solid 8 to 8.5 out of 10 basketball player. He's really good, and he's just good enough to leave you wanting a little bit more, but still thinking that little bit more might come because he's still so young, and big guys don't tend to peak until later in their 20s, and he's still only 24 going on 25. But I just thought he would be better than this by now, specifically on offense.
I will say this. I thought he broke through last year. I thought this year was a setback. I felt like last year they kind of figured it out. And I was a bit frustrated with Atkinson's coaching where it was like Mobley was more of a facilitator, more willing to grab and go on rebounds and start the break and run the offense. And I thought that added a great dynamic for the team and really kind of provided more juice. We didn't see any of that this season. And I don't know if that's a Mobley thing. I don't know if it was a Atkinson thing. I don't know if it was, with Mitchell. And then once they got Harden, it's definitely not something that's going to happen. Like that for me is the biggest single thing where I'm like, they shouldn't trade him. I actually want to see him somewhere else where they'll actually try to utilize that function and develop him a little bit more. Because I just don't think they're trying to develop him as much. And by the way, they're trying to compete for a championship. I understand in that instance where development becomes hard with that. But you had the framework a year ago, and you threw it away this season with him. And I think that's the thing that really kind of like stunned me with him this season.
I thought he would be better off the dribble by now too, just like attacking closeouts and beating guys from the elbow. Like, I just thought there would be more to his offensive game at this point in his career, 5 years into his career, 6 years into his career, whatever it is at this point. I agree with you that some of it is Atkinson, some of it is, wanting to have the ball in Mitchell's hands all the time. Some of it is once you get James Harden, not a lot of guys other than him and Mitchell are going to really have the ball in their hands to facilitate. But just he leaves you wanting a little bit more whenever you see him play. And I think he left you wanting a lot more specifically in this series. The other thing I want to get to is, before we go, I'm of the opinion that you can win with anybody as long as you have the right mix around them. What is the right mix around Donovan Mitchell to win with him as your best guy? I think that that's a question that the Cavs really need to answer. And I don't think it's clearly not the mix that they have now. I don't think James Harden is the right backcourt partner to be able to do that. And it doesn't seem like Mobley and Allen are the right front court pairing to do that. So what is the mix that you need? Is it something like what the Knicks have, where Mitchell has to be the point guard like Brunson and you just surround him with really good wing defenders and a shooter at the center? Like, what is it that you have to put around him to be able to maximize him to the point where he could be the number one option on a championship team?
That's a tough one to figure out. And I think the more interesting, I think they kind of had it last year if they could have figured out finding the wing defender at the 3 spot. I actually think they can. And if they were like, the one thing that's unfair about last season's postseason run for them was they got injured, right? Like Garland got hurt, then Allen got hurt. And again, part of the problem with Garland was availability. So I think that sort of hurt them. So I think they kind of had it, but they just were missing, like, your favorite topic with the Cavs, that guy, the 5th guy to be the glue that brought it all together, right? And they thought at one point it's DeAndre Hunter, right? Like, there was all this stuff, it's when you're starting rotation at that position is a mix of Dean Wade, Max Strus, and Tyson, who I like, by the way, but
yeah, he's gonna be good.
I still think you have that problem, right? Like, you're still in a situation where that's an issue. So they got to kind of figure that was, I think they were closer last year than they were this year. Now, unfortunately for them also, the East is going to be better next year.
Yep.
Right? Like, Boston's going to be better next year. The Knicks are the Knicks, right? Like, they're set. Indiana's going to be back, hopefully, with Tyrese Halliburton. I thought we're impressed with what the Hawks have done so far in the playoffs, or what they did in the playoffs. We're interesting to see what Orlando will look like next year with their coaching decisions and things like that. East is gonna be tougher next year. Philly, we don't know what's gonna happen. Like, it's gonna be tougher next year.
Yeah.
So, like, the window might have closed on them in that opportunity, and I think it'll be curious to go with that. But we've run out of time, Jared. So there's no more points to be made. We have a game tomorrow, Game 6, Spurs-Thunder. We're going to be back Monday. We're going to discuss. At that point, we will know what our finals matchup is, and we'll have a finals preview, and we'll talk whatever insane NBA news is out there. Thank you, folks, so much for listening to the Double Dribble Podcast.
See y'all.